how you go through it.
Yeah,
Bec-
sure, sure. Hello, Ken.
Morning. Morning, Philip. How are you?
Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Good, thank you. And for you?
Right, good, good. Where are you calling from today?
It's from Southern California, right outside of LA.
Okay, okay. So you got good weather there? You got good weather?
Yeah, pretty nice, actually. How about for you?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale, and we've gotten past
Ah,
Hurricane Milton, and which was getting past Hurricane Helene, and oh man, it's like, but it's interesting because Ken, the when those storms come up this way, as you might be aware, these things start out in the Atlantic, and then they come through the Gulf and then up. So I'm on the east coast of Florida, and so what happens is that for the most part, it when it hits the shore, it hits it on the west coast, like Tampa and Naples and all. So it's a little more crazy there, but the residual impact is incredible because the winds, like we didn't get any. We had rainstorms. Hey, Stephen, how you doing? We had rain before and wind, but then like the northern part of Florida, like in some of those smaller towns, and like I live in a condo right off of the river here,
mm,
and so I'm in pretty good shape from that standpoint. But boy, but some of these other places that are right on the ocean or in areas where that get flooded, they really experience a bad time. But
How high
oh,
up are you?
I'm on the 12th floor.
Well, that's high enough.
Yeah, I don't want to be much higher than that. And but my view is unimpeded, like my balcony and all, and I can withstand. And my car is on the second floor, so that way it doesn't get flooded.
all right. Yeah,
But,
I know the dangers even personally. My grandparents years ago uh, had a home in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, and
hmm.
Hurricane Camille came through
Oh
and
yeah.
the home was gone, 100% gone. All that was left was the foundation.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
horrible. It was an old house.
Terrible.
It
Mm.
just crazy.
Yeah. Welcome, Rigo.
Hello.
Hear
Okay.
about.
Okay, Rigo, do you know Philip Berry?
There we go.
I guess no, this is the first time that I meet him.
Great. Mexico City. Um, and so, Stephen, you're looking younger every day.
I am younger.
It's that hair dye.
Really? The wrinkles went away, everything. That's great.
Life is tough in the desert.
Life in the desert. You miracle creams, huh?
I
It's
went to
called.
a high school reunion some years ago and everyone was saying how great everyone looks. I said, the only reason we're all saying that is we all have cataracts.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly right.
Actually, I had a, skin problem, so I went to a dermatologist a couple of years ago, and she gave me what she calls magic cream, and
Uh-oh.
and so you rub it in. It's like Hollywood stuff, and you just it massages. So it's face cream, and so every morning, while digesting the first coffee. It's massaging my face, and I'm not doing this, but the wrinkles and the pores get taken care of. And so now the idea is to not screw it up with too
Yeah,
much stress, and
yeah,
other shit. So,
yeah,
and
yeah.
plenty of vodka. So everybody, Ken and his family have celebrated the birth of a granddaughter just recently.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
thank you. Very exciting. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mazel tov and everything with that,
That's
Yeah.
it, man. That's it. This time of year, it's great.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's begin. Where I think we're going to be joined by one or two others, but a couple of others who said yes, I have now said no. Just so you know, 5 p.m. California time, 8 p.m. East, 7 p.m. in Mexico City. Tonight, we're going to reach Tokyo again.
This
And
is
the same
it's
people.
7 p.m. in Mexico City now?
No, it'll be
I
6.
think it's 6 p.m. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
six. Was it 1 hour or 2 hours? I thought you were 2 hours.
Mexico does not change clocks now. So when the US goes to daylight savings, California's 1 hour difference. In November, when the US changes clocks, California will be a 2 hour difference.
Oh, okay. I'll
It's
try to remember.
One more thing you have to remember in life, Ed.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Zoom. Hopefully they're doing it right. Okay, so anyway,
they're
it's
not.
5 p.m. today, California time, and we'll be on a different Zoom, not this one. So, does anybody object to the AI note-taking?
No.
Okay,
No, not at all.
okay, stand by.
Annual ritual.
Thank you.
There's a point in everybody's career where they go through this annual ritual of performance management. And unfortunately, the way most people are looking at performance management, it's the time that my boss gets to tell me or not tell me how much money, more money I'm going to make. I mean, that like we're so focused on the bottom line from a standpoint of the money that we're going to get and how this conversation is going to either help or hurt me, towards some of my own economic goals. That's one of the reasons why we see economy is such a big thing right now, where people are
Frozen. Philip, can you hear me?
He's frozen, I guess.
Yeah, frozen, Phil. Okay, Stephen, let's go to you. And you've been really, really busy, and I really appreciate your time coming on here. And we'll get right back to Philip when we can get a message to him. Stephen, why don't you take over for a minute while I communicate with him?
Okay, well, I'm not sure where Philip was leading us, but in my view,
It's going to
coaching-
be branding.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
personal branding is important. I like Philip's views on personal branding. I've seen them before. I think it's very important. I think one thing that became popular in the business literature about 10 years ago or so, maybe 8, was this concept of fake it till you make it. And I think that was 180 degrees wrong. People know when you're faking it. If you're a leader and you try and fake it, like you know everything and you become inauthentic, you lose trust. There's a dearth of trust in the workplace already in today's world. So I think this whole concept of trying to brand yourself and show yourself that you're something that you're not is certainly the wrong thing to do. So I would say authenticity in personal branding is critical.
Ken Lloyd?
Oh, I absolutely agree with Stephen on that. If we try to be something that we're not, it becomes very obvious. And while transparency is important in playing a role as a coach, a counselor, or a mentor, being so transparent that they can see that you're a phony is not exactly what we're talking about when we have transparency. We want genuine, authentic behaviors, and then that transparency is really a plus. But it's being honest, it's being open, it's being communicative, receptive, and focused on helping your employees develop and meet their goals, and also continuing our own growth and development as part of the process.
What is the date of arrival? Just changing the topic for a second. What's the date of arrival of your new book?
It's coming. I thought you were going to ask about my new granddaughter.
You're welcome to change the topic.
Yeah, the new book is coming out on December 17th of this year, Performance Appraisals and Phrases for Dummies. And fortunately, it does not go down the road that we were just hearing about from Phil.
Hi there.
As he even indicated, that's a problematic direction.
Yeah.
too.
So, yeah. So can you come back in sometime? Oh, okay, good. Yes, Stephen is and Ken are now talking. But I welcome you back in anytime. Okay, great.
Maybe there's another
See
hurricane
you
in
soon.
Florida.
Is he on his way, or is he?
His internet dropped, so he's trying to reconnect it.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. There's no hurricane there
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, he has to pay his bill.
God, this is recording. Be careful.
Sorry, Phil.
So,
Phil.
so Stephen, the theme is, you know, the difference between mentoring and coaching, and how do you do it? How do you make it work, especially on a remote basis? Stephen.
Okay. You know, if you're an outside, you know, I think some of the we overlap our terminology sometimes. As an outside coach, I do both coaching and mentoring, and there's no fine line between the two. I think where if you're in the corporate world, though, as a leader, you are coaching your people, and mostly when you coach as a leader, in my view, you're coaching for their current job. You're helping them to improve their skill set for their current job, or maybe a slightly stretched assignment in their current position. Mentoring, when you have a mentor in the corporate world, it's often not your boss, although your boss can be a mentor. It's often more longer term. You're talking about career paths. You're talking about other opportunities in the organization. You know, for those of us who work for large organizations, we know that rarely does your boss tell you about an opportunity somewhere else in the organization, because your boss wants to keep you. If you leave for another department, they have to replace you, and that's a pain for them. So your boss is not necessarily the most reliable person to be your career mentor. Although we have a really great boss, a great leader, then they're willing to, you know, one of the things they recognize is that when they develop people who move within the organization into other positions, it shines well on them as the leader, that they're developing talent. But too many bosses don't have that mental mindset. They've got blinders on. So I think coaching and mentoring, when you're an outside person like me and Ken and others, it overlaps a lot. I do both with the people I coach. When I mentor, it's often talking to them about maybe leaving the organization, finding other opportunities, or finding other industries to go in, or I've mentored people on starting up new businesses. But when you're in the corporate world and you're coaching or mentoring an employee, the fine line has to be their current job versus maybe their career path or another opportunity in the organization. So I hope that makes sense.
It does. You know what came to my mind while listening to you is the idea of creating friction by the boss who's not dedicated to the employee's goodwill and best capabilities within the organization. So it's like a fiefdom, and that, I would think, engenders or creates a feeling of mistrust.
Yeah. Yeah, it does, because, you know, I mean, you don't have the employee's best interest in mind. And an employee, once the employee realizes that, there is mistrust without a doubt. And that's why the old saying, people quit bosses, not companies, that's one of the factors for that is, you know, I've seen people leave organizations, and because their boss did not let them know of an opportunity that might have interested them. But the boss, as you said, has this little fiefdom and wants to keep people and doesn't want to go through the costs and pains of recruiting a replacement. And so they deliberately didn't tell that employee about an opportunity.
No, it's absolutely right. We try to encourage managers today, people in leadership positions today, to think of themselves as a coach, and to engage in those kinds of behaviors that help develop, enhance the performance of the employees, listening to the employees, understanding their career direction, their career goals, and really coaching them to work effectively. And that's very different from bossing. And that's what you really want to get away from. And coaching comes right into the performance management, performance appraisal process. So you're not approaching that as a disciplinarian or an authoritarian, but as a coach, which often implies a lot of partnering with the employees. And mentoring, yeah, is exactly as Steve said, there's no hard, fine discussion. Sometimes we can have employees who are not in formal leadership positions acting as mentors as well. You do this so well. Can you help employee A or B as they gradually increase their responsibilities? Can you work with them in this or that area as a mentor? It's a nice way to develop the employees who are mentoring as well as those who are being mentored. And sometimes it's a nice way to kind of introduce those mentoring employees into more of a leadership path to help identify some of their goals and their promotability down the road. So there is a strong overlap there as well.
Interesting. So Rigo, let me ask you a question about the background slide that you have showing LATAM talks. And why don't you tell the audience out there listening to this, watching it, what LATAM talks is about and what is your role in it?
Certainly, Ed. It's mainly about providing information to HR and global mobility stakeholders. So I am a steering committee member and usually participate in podcasts and recordings and webcasts. So it's basically all about providing input and information for free and to network with our audience, mainly in Spanish for all Latin America.
Yes, okay. And that I wish you well with that. And I welcome you to use this audience to augment your own audience. So the picture that you're using on my screen looks a little cloudy or smoggy. I hope it's not smug, but I was wondering if you have a different picture that would be brighter, cheerier, more colorful that you could use. And as I remember from other people from LATAM Talks being on this program earlier, there was a different logo. Yeah, okay, there it is. So you sort of go like that so we can look at it.
That's the Brazilian version, so it's a little bit more. It's happier.
Yeah, yeah. So why don't you move to the left or the right so the audience could see the beautiful logo that you have there? Okay, great. And there's Brazil in the upper corner there. Yeah. That's really a huge country, isn't it? I
Indeed.
mean, that goes like that way, all the way across. And, Mexico is up there somewhere, but also big because it starts in Tijuana and goes to Houston, going across east-west. And that's really amazing how big Mexico really is. Most people just think of it of straight down underneath California, but it's not.
Yeah, it's the whole Latin America continent. It's huge and so diverse. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Stephen, when you lived in Mexico City, did you have any difficulty adjusting to the elevation and the time zones?
Yeah, a little bit actually. Time zone, no. I mean, I've spent my whole life traveling around the globe. I mean, I get up at 5 o'clock. Doesn't matter where I am in the world. But the elevation definitely, and I noticed particularly when I would go out for a walk, like an exercise type walk, the first couple of days back, if I'd been gone for more than a week, because I was going in and out of Mexico City, yeah, the first few days back would be very difficult. And the other thing, and I'm actually finding that here in Phoenix right now, the pollen is different in every location. So I'm not, as I go out today or this morning for a walk, my lungs, I could feel the pollen was different. I checked the app, and sure enough, it's a different kind of pollen than what I was used to in Palm Springs and what I got used to in Mexico City. So it's kind of fun traveling, living in different parts of the world.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm doing and how it relates to mentoring and high achieving. I'm striving to be a high achiever in doing talk shows. And I'm setting up a schedule for the rest of this year by rapidly increasing the volume of speaking opportunities. And that means generating more audience, of course, but it also is a team effort because of the frequency of some of you who are on this program a lot, and I welcome that, of course. But I'm finding that it's taking me a lot of energy to, not intellectually, because I'm putting it all together fairly quickly, but then learning about the different topics and preparing to be a good host means that I have to be knowledgeable about what the topic is, even though it's not my daily bread and butter. And that means finding people who are expert at these topics and then generating conversation about what they're talking about or what they're displaying. And so that's the reason for some of the images that you've been seeing me blast around, that I'm becoming inundated, which is a good thing, with all these charts and graphics on these different topics. And so I'm working to identify which ones will attract an audience for me, and then finding people who want to participate in that discussion. So I tell you that so you know what I'm doing and how it relates to this topic of branding and mentoring and coaching, because what I'm learning is that I never learned to do this in school. And that would be an interesting topic now in what a community college setup, or Stephen, in your experience being in marketing forever in different organizations, what do you think of that idea of teaching media and how to use media to kids? And I think they're already way ahead than I was at that age in getting comfortable in front of a camera and using video, particularly now with AI services coming that can be adapted to video. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that social media, the younger generation is obviously much more comfortable, but I think there's a concern. Sometimes they're a little too informal in the social media, and which is fine when you're on TikTok or Instagram or stuff like that. Informality works very well, but I've seen people then, a lot of job interviews, are done remote these days. Meetings are remote, and there can be a bit of too much casuality. Is that the right word, Ken? I'm not sure, but too much casualness. Too much casualness. Sometimes, whether it's in their dress, their background, you can be informal in a not work setting, but you're still with 5 generations in the workforce. You got to be careful if you're too casual, and some others, some people are going to think that you're not serious. They're going to interpret things incorrectly, and that's one of the problems with communications. Going back to the gist of your question, communications is not taught. At least it wasn't when I went to high school and college and MBA programs. I mean, you don't teach people how to communicate. You teach people about financial spreadsheets and project plans and SWOT analysis and things like that. But yeah, so there is a lack of the ability to communicate in the workplace and interpersonally, which is, as you know, one of the bases of the new book I've got out. So, but in the workplace, definitely communications needs to be taught better.
Dr. Ken Lloyd, I'm deferring
totally
to your.
agree. Yeah, I totally agree. It's hard versus soft skills, and the hard skills are much easier to teach for people to learn, particularly in a program like an MBA program. Here's accounting, here's finance, here's marketing, here's this or that, operations research, as opposed to the kinds of softer skills in terms of listening, communicating, understanding others, demonstrating emotional intelligence and all. And those are really, as we've talked in previous sessions, so critical for success in managerial positions. So I agree, additional emphasis on that would certainly help. I remember we used to have kind of the equivalent of a sensitivity training class or two when I was back in business school, which was interesting and helpful, but the world's come a long way since then. Communications have changed. I agree that those coming up are certainly more skilled, if you will, in getting out into social media and interacting. But sometimes, as it's mentioned, it doesn't translate into a business meeting and a business discussion. And you'll see it all of a sudden, they're on the screen and they're off, they're doing this, and then it goes silent. And so there is a need in terms of just really handling oneself effectively in some of these more business-oriented discussions that could be very important in training and educating as people come through these programs. Again, whether they're getting an MBA or not, it's a very good skill to have coming out of school, because this is where the world not only is going, this is where it is. This is where jobs are. And if we're not good at this, you can easily ruin a job interview just by how you're handling yourself on social media, in spite of your background, your skills and abilities that you might possess. So it's excellent training for people to have.
So, Stephen, yesterday I was reading about the Amazon CEO ordering people back to the office, and the interviewer, and this was a print article that I was reading, said, "Isn't this a soft or a backhanded way to not do layoff notices? That there's going to be a certain number of people who are just going to walk." And so that's the end result, what they probably were after to begin with.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know what's in their heads, although they have announced that they do want to reduce their workforce. But yeah, this is not new, Ed. I mean, I remember years ago when, and it's part of life, ExxonMobil created this huge campus facility north of Houston, and it was moving people from all over the country, mandating that if you want to keep your job at ExxonMobil, you had to move to Houston. So, for instance, their PR and communications people were based somewhere, I think it was Roanoke, Virginia, somewhere in the Virginia, Washington, D.C. metro area. And, people were, the ExxonMobil did a great job. They gave them, I think up to like 18 months notice that this was going to happen. If they didn't want to move, they helped them find other jobs. If they did want to move, they obviously helped them, here were real estate agents to help you. I think, they did all the things that a good company does in terms of, relocation services and, flights to, go find housing and schools and things of that nature. But, companies have made these decisions. So I think whether this is an underhanded way for Amazon to reduce their workforce, yeah, possibly. And that's not necessarily bad, because they're going to find the people who don't want to work there. So let the people make the decision. Otherwise, Amazon could end up firing people that say, geez, I really want a career at Amazon.
and get stuck with severance and other issues.
Well, there's always that, there's always going to be the conspirators, things that, that's one way of reducing their costs of getting rid of people. And yeah, maybe that's true. But on the other hand, like many things in life, we won't know until it happens. I'd be willing. I want to see the interview person in June of next year who interviews that CEO and says, "How did that go for you? did you get rid of the right people? How many people did you have to hire? How much stress was there in the workplace?" Because one of the things no one's taken into consideration is those who stay, the workload's not going to get reduced. Those who stay are going to get dumped on, and unless Amazon hires a bunch of people, there's going to be huge risk of burnout and mental unwellness and drama and conflict in the workplace simply because of this decision that they're making. We'll say, ask them in June how it went. How's it going?
Really. So thank you very much for signing up for the November 20 edition. Thank you. This was generated by Germany-based Anata from Cologne or Cologne. She's been on a contract and has not been able to join us, and she regrets it. So she says, why don't we set up something after November 18? Because that's when I'll be available. So I said, okay, how about November 20 at your 5 p.m. In Germany? And that's how all that started. Now, I've been sending that around, and people are signing up right and left. And so my goal, again, is to broaden the audience and the reach and add voices to some of the topics that we've already done that were US-centric. So that's where I'm going. So thank you for being involved. As I mentioned, the New York event is on 12/12, and that will be in Manhattan West Side in this beautiful, huge new office park called Hudson Yards. And there's fire engines coming down the street here. Maybe you can hear that. But Hudson Yards is a development that's now open. It took 10 years to build, but it's like an office park of these giant buildings. And the HSBC tower is like 70 stories. And we're going to be on floor 29 in that conference center. And that's going to be the in-person, but they have state-of-the-art tech help included in the package that they're giving me. And so we'll be able to broadcast much of it, not all of it, but much of it. So I invite you all to come and be involved. Doing it remotely in an in-person centric setting, like we've tried to do in London and a couple of other places, can be tricky because of the position and the technology, the position of the camera, and also the tech speed. Like for some reason, Philip's condo internet just crashed. Hopefully that won't happen in New York, where we have so many different people coming and going online. But more about that later. I'm just starting to PR that event. HSBC is host and facilitator and speaker, and HSBC is going to have multiple speakers within that program about why they're doing this, number one, and what their new product line is all about, and then using my audience and this method for PR. And I'm really honored to have that opportunity. HSBC in London will happen again and this will be the fourth time, and we're targeting March or April. So more on that later. So I thank you for being on this abbreviated program. So Rigo, once again, tell our audience what your specialty focus is now that you're an entrepreneur.
Well, by now I'm focusing mainly on destination services, such as finding a school for expatriates or finding a house or helping with driver license and things like that. But perhaps in the next year, I will help with more in, services like immigration or tax. So that definitely will be the next step. But yeah, this is what I am doing now by myself. Yeah.
So, but you're not doing everything yourself. You're finding outsourced partners, right? I'm assuming that.
Well, I am doing by myself now, but yeah, that will be the second part of the process to finding partners. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. So if you would like my assistance with introductions, I don't think you need that, but if you would like to have that, as I said, I'm trying to grow the audience and involvement on this program, and I very much welcome LATAM talks to take a different route, but I'm welcoming you to this platform as well. Dr. Ken Lloyd, about the new book coming out. The first edition was 20 years ago or 15 years ago?
15 years ago.
No, 15. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And it was about how to persuade people as a dummy,
No,
or
it
to
was,
avoid being a dummy.
yeah, it was on performance appraisals, which back then were basically annual events and quite problematic for those who are going through the process, whether as a manager or as a general employee who's receiving the feedback, versus today's that have continuous feedback, multiple sessions, the annual reviews are gone. They're far more forward focused. There's more coaching that's involved. There's more developmental. It's a very different process from what it was. So the book did need to be updated. There's no question about it. And this just takes it into what companies are doing now, along with phrases if managers would like to select from them to help them in writing evals. But again, the surprise element is gone. Managers are having regular discussions, two-way communication with their employees. Surprises are absolutely missing. It's just this certainly helping them if there are performance problems, but not, gotcha, rather, let's work on this. And it's really in real time. It's not, hey, 6 months ago, you did this or that wrong. Or frankly, 6 months ago, you did this really well. Here's some recognition. The feedback that people receive, the guidance that they receive is most effective when it's as close to the behavior in question as possible, whether that behavior is a shortcoming in the performance or whether it's great performance. You don't want to delay it or it's going to have less and less meaning. So all of that is now in the new performance appraisals, so that when people hear the expression performance appraisal, they don't have to go, not that. It's a whole different ongoing kind of process. It's really a process of two-way communication and employee development.
Interesting. Okay, Stephen, I invite you to, if you want, to display the front cover of the newest book. It's a fascinating design. And if you could do that, I know that the audience would love seeing it.
Okay. Let me pull it up for you. Got so many images here. But, here we go. I'll use that one. And by the way, the book was released yesterday. So,
Oh, great. Congratulations.
So it's on Amazon, and just for your audience, I'll give them a hint. I've got it priced at the friends and family rate from now through Sunday the 20th, and then it goes to the full retail price. So right now it's like $7.50, and it'll go up to like $18 or something, whatever Amazon decides next week. So you can get it for a whole $7.50, but there it is.
And that's the hardcover?
That's the hardcover. Yeah, the Kindle's like $4 or something. But yeah, that's the hardcover.
Great. Okay, so now this chapeau that the person is wearing is really not a hat, is it?
No.
What would you
No,
call that?
well, I know that's the tree of life is in the middle there. This book is about how we interact with each other on an individual basis, interpersonally, outside work as well as within the workplace. So it's not a business book to speak of. It's more, as you see here, the subtitle, Change the World by Changing Your Mindset. So how we change our mindsets about the people we interact with can change our own world. So whether it's our communities, our schools, our religious institutions, whatever we're involved in. And then the arms there, the arms are, those are not blood vessels. That's the DNA double helix, because we have like 99.9% in common with each other genetically. So we're all one human race. We're all part of Homo sapiens, and we need to start treating each other like that with a bit more compassion, kindness, and respect. So that's the gist of what the book's all about.
So the subtitle, Change the World by Changing Your Mindset. So is that targeting the younger generation?
targeting everybody, actually. I don't believe, if you want to make a difference in the world, doesn't matter what age you are. You can be a teenager on up into your 80s. Again, we're not talking about solving the Middle East crisis. We're not talking about solving world hunger or poverty. I mean, those are all great issues, but very few of us are in a position to do so. Very few of us are, the Bill and Melinda Gates of the world who can make an impact on those major issues, global issues. But we can all, just smile at one another, say hello. One of the things I find, when I walked in Mexico, one of the things I really loved walking around my neighborhood was that people would make eye contact with you. They'd be out walking their dogs. And sometimes, as in Mexico, a lot of people have helpers, and it'd be the helpers walking the dogs, not the owners. And, there's a class difference, but they still look you in the eye and say, buen dia, have a good day. But here in the United States, I find even this morning in my walk, at least a third of the people I passed going the other direction had their head down, not looking at their phone. They just don't want to make eye contact. They'll look away. That's, there's nothing wrong with saying hello to each other, being friendly to one another, being friendly to the person that you see in the supermarket, allowing, things I try to do. I was in Target the other day with half a basket full of things I was buying, and the person behind me had 3 items, and it was very easy for me to just to turn around and say, please go in front of me. You only have 3 items. And then at first they said, no. I said, look, you've only got 3 items. I'm in no hurry. That's a humany mindset, where there's the non-humany mindset is thinking about me, and they can wait. I was here first. I'm going to do my check out of my 15, 20 items, whatever I had, and you can wait for me because I beat you to the checkout line. Well, I want to change that. Change your mindset. You can change your little bit of the world.
Wow.
Sorry for the soapbox.
No, I'm just thinking of that Coca-Cola song.
Yeah.
Change the world.
Teach the world to sing.
Right.
That it was a nice commercial from. That's why we all remember it from Coca-Cola. And it was a nice message from them. Particularly, I think they first released that during the end of year holiday season. So it was a nice message.
Perfect timing. Yeah, great marketing.
Yeah.
Ken, do you have a picture of the new baby?
I do, but not that I can post. Not yet.
Okay. Well, when you're ready,
Yeah.
we'll make time for that.
She does have a full head of dark hair. It's adorable. And then doctors come in and say, "Oh my goodness, look!" And it's so she looks older already, and it's quite styled, and it's adorable.
Right. Well, thank you for being on this program, and it's too bad Philip's internet crashed, but hopefully by the end of the day he'll have that ready, as he will be joining us on the Japan broadcast. Starts today at 5 p.m. California, and whatever time anywhere else. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.